Welcome to Arnie's Class Podcast. I'm Arnie Aniel. I'm an HR development consultant, an international public speaker, a workshop facilitator, a coach, and an educator. Life is a great opportunity, and we all learn life lessons every day. This podcast is all about those lessons. Lessons like gratitude, confidence, happiness, mindset, and a lot more. Learning without action is information. Learning with action is transformation. Join me, learn, and transform yourself into a better you. Life is not always wonderful, and every day is a journey. We make decisions on a daily basis. We make choices. Decisions and choices to make us happy and to live a happy life. But sometimes it's really hard because we hear comments, expectations, and judging from other people. And those comments can and sometimes affect who we are and how we live our lives. And it's even more difficult if we are in situations wherein we are sad or even depressed. What can we do? That even after reading all those help books available out there and listening to successful and happy people who encourage us to be happy, to be out there and enjoying and celebrating life actually don't help. What else can we do? Like mates, listen to my special guest as she share her own experience of being depressed and being down there in a deep, dark hole and how she came out and became who she truly is and enjoy her life. If she can do it, of course, all of us can do it too. Life mates, another lesson and another special guest. And for this episode, my special guest is an author, a podcaster, and a coach with the mission to figure out what makes us who we are and to understand human emotions and behavior. She is to social and cultural anthropology, teaching, and coaching. And she wrote the book A Spiritual Rebel, Enjoying the Heck Out of Life. And she describes herself as a life explorer. Please welcome my special guest, Trine Lehmann Hansen. Hi, Trine.
Hi, Arnie. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm so looking forward to talking to you.
Me too. I'm very, very excited today because when you shared something about yourself, I said that is something beautiful that all my life mates, as I call my listeners,
Yeah, I
can
love
learn
that.
something from. Yes.
And we are all in this together, aren't we?
Yes. Totally
Yeah.
agree. Yes. Yes, of course. And before we start the recording, actually, as you said, it's always good to share something because each one of us, we have our stories to tell.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just getting the sense that we might not be as alone as we thought we were, that is so valuable, so much comfort in that. So
Yes. And of course, today, the spotlight is on you. It's your story to tell. Where shall we start, Trine? Where do you want to start?
That's a good question. And I guess my story starts in sort of a not so great place. At least that was my experience for a long time, because I come from a story of stress and depression, and that's, I think, why we're here today, to dig into how that turned into actually ending up enjoying the heck out of life. And as you said, I have always been asking these questions because if you look at my life, it has not been particularly bad or dramatic in any way. So me feeling sorry for myself and being more or less miserable was mostly my own doing. But I grew up with a brother who was exactly the opposite. Everything was always working out for him. He was, outgoing and charismatic, and anything he decided to do turned out well. So I grew up with that feeling like, oh my God, life is so easy for him and it's so hard for me. So what's the difference? Why are some people struggling so much more than others? And I guess he was a great example because we more or less grew up under the same circumstances. He was 8 years older, so there was a slight difference, but still, I mean, what's that about? So that's what I have always been trying to figure out.
But when was the time, or how old were you when you realized that how come his life is different from my life? Like it's like full of roses for him, but for me it's like always dark clouds.
Yes, that's actually a pretty good image of how it felt. I don't know. I always looked up to him. He was older and he was always, outgoing, as I said, and lots of friends and very popular. And for a long time, people at school just knew me as his little sister. So they didn't care, it was like, oh my God, you're his little sister. And so because he played basketball and was more or less famous because he made it to the national team and stuff.
Wow.
So no matter where I went, people would know him already. So they would, so I was interesting because I was his sister. So that sort of, that played a part, I guess. So I had that sense always that he has something that I don't have. And it took me a long time to figure it out, even though he actually told me a long time ago. He looked at me and said, you know what, sister, the only difference between you and me is that I believe I can do it. So I do. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, that was
easier said than done, right? Easier said than done.
Yes, exactly. But I guess that whole, I was feeling sorry for myself a lot. I usually say that if anybody had given out prizes for victim mentality, I would have had a whole closet full of trophies, the big ones, big trophies.
And maybe we can add some medals too, okay?
Yes,
Not only the trophies and certificates.
Yes, shiny medals. Yes. I would have had it all. So yeah, I grew up with that and also feeling, weird and different and I never felt like I fit in. So that was the story I was telling myself for a very long time. And as I grew up, it turned into, it started as stress, because having that feeling that you don't fit in, that you don't belong, that can be really stressful, because I did everything in my power to, try to be what people expected of me. I tried to live up to all the expectations that I picked up on. It wasn't even because people told me, you have to do this and you have to do that. It was my sense of what was expected of me that sort of drove me. But at the same time, I had that feeling that I'm not like everybody else, and I wasn't totally willing to give it up either. So it was sort of that internal struggle, trying to fit in, but without having to give up who I was. And that was certainly a challenge for a long time. And that led to depression. So I ended up not being able to work. I spent all my energy getting through the day and getting my kids up and ready for school, and make sure that things were functioning to some degree, at least.
Very pattern, very routine, the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, also because I didn't have any energy for anything else. So yeah, I spent all my time at home and then taking a nap and going for a walk. That was sort of my days just to have the energy to not, scream at my kids for every little thing because I was, short-tempered and miserable.
I can imagine. But I think what's the good thing about it is your brother didn't make you feel that way. He was there to cheer you up and tell you that you can do it too if I can do it.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
did it help? Did it help when he told you like this that I
no,
not at all?
No.
Oh wow.
Well, not really. At least not on my bad days. It just felt, comparing myself to him just made it even worse, because a part of me knew that he was right. I knew that it was something in me that made things so hard. But it was a big help to know that living that way is possible, because I didn't only get it from Hollywood movies, where people are are rich and successful and popular and all that. I actually saw that in real life, that his outlook on life, his belief in himself, helped him to live that life that I always sort of wanted as well. So he was a good role model, even though it caused me a lot of grief looking at him and be like, why does he get to have all that and do all that, but I don't?
And you're always the sister. No name.
Yes.
They always go, yeah, you are his sister.
Yes. Yes, for many, many years. Absolutely. So
wow. How many years to be exact, Trine? More or less, how many years?
It's been sort of a fluid sort of journey. So it wasn't like, I wish I had one of those stories, where one day I woke up and I saw everything clearly and the clouds parted and the trumpet sounded and now I knew. But it wasn't quite like that. I actually think that if there was one thing that helped me change things around, it was giving up trying to live up to all the external ideas I had of who I had to be happy, or even to be worthy of happiness. But it didn't look like, sometimes, because I read all the self-help books already.
Okay, and tell me about it.
Yes. And, a lot of those books, they start out with this story of, I was broke and I was homeless. And suddenly I heard the voice of God and I knew that my mission was to, or I had hit rock bottom and I woke up, passed out on the bathroom floor, and then I just knew and so I was kind of sometimes waiting for a moment like that, but apparently that's not my story. My story was
your story is a totally different story.
Yes.
But when was the breakthrough happen? When was the time that, okay, enough of this? When was that time?
That was shortly before Christmas, not last year, but like a year and a half ago by now, because, as I said, I read all those self-help books. I did all the different meditations and breathing techniques and journaling exercises. And I really, 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 really did everything I could. And all those books and all the teachings, they sort of promise that if you do this thing, you will feel great. And sometimes I did for a little bit. I caught a glimpse of it sometimes, but then it sort of got too much hard work to maintain. So I sort of slipped back into my hole every time. But so I actually got angry. At one point, I was like, I have done all your stupid exercises. I have followed all those rules and all those guides and everything. And
still
I'm
the same.
yes, I'm still miserable. So I was like, okay, I quit. I give up. It's not working. But in doing that and taking that step back, I think when I look back now, I think what happens is that created sort of a space where I got to listen to me instead of all the external voices, everybody, because there's no shortage of people willing to tell you how to live your life.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. All of them can judge us anytime.
Yes.
We all judge. But just like
Yeah.
sometimes, the people are so harsh that they
Mm.
don't really understand what we're going through. So on that day, was it instant or it took a while?
It took a little while. I was sulking for a few days for sure after after getting to that point, because it felt so unfair, because I knew that I was working every day, to better myself, to improve myself, to become that better version that everybody promised was out there somewhere. Um, and I think it was a good thing that I ran out of options. It felt like I had tried everything. So the only thing left for me to do was to give up. So it wasn't actually something I, decided, okay, now I'm going to do things my way. I just didn't have any more other ways to try. At least that's how it felt. And I think part of that was because I've always, been a people pleaser. I have always been a sensitive person, picking up on what everybody else needs. So I was really good at that. I was really good at reading my surroundings. I was really good at I always knew what my teachers wanted in school in every paper. So even with changing teachers over the years, I could always write really good paper because I knew, okay, this person likes if you can, add some sayings or metaphors or something. And this one wants things, bullet points and cut and clear. So I could always deliver what people wanted. So I had been doing that for so many years that I had completely lost sight of what I wanted and what I needed.
And of who you
So,
are.
yes, thank you. Exactly. So when I gave up spending every waking moment trying to, fix myself to be like they wanted me to be, that created that space where I could hear my own inner guidance again, and life started opening up for me in doing that. But again, it took a little while. It felt like crawling out of this big, deep, dark hole I had been in. So poking my nose up, looking at the world again for the first time in more than a decade. That's how it felt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
It took a
everything
really, really long time.
It did. I'm very thorough when I learn my lessons, I guess.
And after that breakthrough, after that enlightenment, what was the first thing you did, Trine? Or probably I'll change the question to, what did the people see, the people around you, see that, wow, this is a new Trine? Are you sure it's you?
Well, the funny thing is that on the surface, nothing has changed all that much. I still spend most of my time at home and online. I always felt safe online. I think that's the sensitive nature as well. We tend to like that, hiding behind our screens, because it actually makes it easier to be ourselves in some way. And I still go for long walks in the forest that's just across the road. And I can still, spend a whole afternoon on my sofa with my journal and my eyes closed most of the time and just, experience things and process and enjoy. So on the outside, it doesn't look that different, but I'm smiling now. I'm happy. I'm not, oh God, I'm not complaining, because if complaining had been a recognized sport, that would just have been meant more medals, Olympic ones, possibly.
You're a world champion.
Yes. I really could have been, if only. Yeah. So that changed. But I think I'm not sure how many people. Only really the closest probably noticed, because I hadn't had that many people close by, because when you're feeling that miserable, it's very hard to maintain connections, because I didn't feel like reaching out. I was always like, yeah, but, well, especially when I was at my worst, I knew that I wasn't all that good company, because the complaining and the rah, rah, rah things are just
everything negative. And people
yes,
don't like that.
Well, certain people do, because
they are in the same situation.
Exactly. So yeah, I started noticing new people, and I met the most amazing people since I came out of my hole. And that has been such a pleasure, talking to people and meeting them and finding people like me. I think we always find people like ourselves. We attract similar people. So, of course, the people I meet now are so much more enjoyable to be around than sometimes was before. So, yeah. And then I noticed new things on Facebook, because, yes, because to me, in my little world, Facebook was still just pictures of people's lunches and weekend getaways.
Selfies.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, I noticed, how people were sharing more about themselves and their missions and what they want to do in life. And then there were, Facebook ads. I was like, oh, really? And there was, these 5-day challenges. I was like, what's that? I was like, why? What?
So suddenly a new world, right?
Yeah, yes, it really, really was. I don't know, because I was on Facebook while I was, feeling crappy. But again, it really, really just shows how big a difference it makes, how you are looking at life and what you actually see out there. So I think the first thing I did was sign up for one of those 5-day challenges. And it happened to be a Tony Robbins New Year, New You there in January after New Year. Yeah. So I was familiar with him, because it was in his tradition that I did my coach training many years ago. I was trained by people who were trained by him and had worked with him. So I knew of him, and then this challenge, and there was a lot of, you can do anything, and rah, rah, just go do it energy. And I was sort of like, oh, yeah, it's a little bit exhausting, that way of looking at things. And I think, again, that's sort of the sensitive side in me, but it still, opened up to something new. And there were, just that whole experience of being live and knowing that there were thousands of people live at the same time and doing this thing. And there were, daily questions and exercises. And what do you want to do? And so it started something. And that led to the next 5-day challenge. And there was a question, or, daily exercise, sort of what do you see yourself doing in 6 months? And as I was writing that, I was like, oh, I would like to be writing a book in 6 months.
Wow.
And I was sort of and I was like, oh my God, where did that come from?
So you didn't think about writing a book before that? So it was like a thought that just came during that time?
Yes, it was quite sudden, because I had been, considering it before, because I've always liked writing and stuff. So I was like, yeah, maybe I could write a book, but that's always where the idea died, because what would I write about and all that. But this time I was like, interesting. So I found, different colored paper so that I could start making notes, and sort of the yellow was the introduction maybe, and the blue was sort of the tools, and green was this part. And so I had fun with that for a while. And then Facebook to the rescue again, because there was an ad sort of like, get started writing your book in just a weekend. And it was sort of like a bundle of things. And I was like, really? Can that be? So I did a little research, and I came across a book school online that, gave a lot of questions like, what do you want with this book? Who are you writing it for? And what's the purpose? And all these, if you had to describe it like this, what would it be? And then there's the whole sort of outlining process. So I was still just playing along at this point. I didn't really, it felt so new, and the idea was kind of crazy, but it was fun. So I went along with that. So I did the outline, and I actually realized that the first notes I'd been writing had been for completely different books. So I got that sort of streamlined a bit and clarified my ideas and stuff. And then when it was time to start writing, this book school said that it might take you 9 to 12 months, but if you just do 250 words every day, you are doing really well. And if you keep going, you'll get there. So I was like, 250 words. Yeah, I can probably do that. So I sat down, and the first day, I think I wrote 2,000 words, and I was like,
wow, 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, that's just, it's new and exciting. So it's just sort of beginner's luck. So I came back the next day, and I wrote another 2,000 words, and I was like, oh my God. So it actually, the first draft, and they say that the first draft, they call it the vomit draft, because you just got to get everything out on paper, and don't read it, don't edit, don't do anything.
Just keep on writing. Just keep on writing.
Yes, exactly. Just
let it flow. Let the
exactly.
thoughts flow, and then just keep on writing. Yes.
Yeah. So I did that, and it took me 3 weeks, and I had the first draft of my book, and I was like, I got scared at that point, because that was when it got real. I was like, oh my God, that happened. Because until then, it was actually just sort of an idea I was playing with. I hadn't committed, actually. And that's something that there's, you have to commit, and you have to this, and you have to that. But if I had done that up front, I would have killed the idea the minute it was born. If I had been like, okay, in 6 months, I will have a book, and it has to be that, it's just not working for me that way. But just sort of gently following the breadcrumbs of, oh yeah, I can do that little thing. Oh yeah, I can do the outline. I can do the notes. So doing it, just looking at the next step, that made it so much more easy and fun. Though I still had, daily, oh my God, what am I doing crises. So yeah.
Well, how long did it take for you to finish the book?
The editing took quite a lot longer, but I got the idea on March 19 last year, and the book went live on Amazon, I think September 12. So I kept it just under the 6 month that I had sort of gotten that crazy idea to begin with.
Wow. And why did you call the book A Spiritual Rebel Enjoying the Heck Out of Life? Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think my editor was sort of, it's not a good title. And he was like, but I had, and that was a funny thing, because I was so sure that the title would be obvious once I had written the book. It would have to be, but it wasn't really. So when it came time to have the cover created, I had to come up with a title to put on that cover. So I was out for my morning walk in the forest, and I was thinking, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to call it A Spiritual Rebel Enjoying the Heck Out of Life, because that's how I felt at that time. it felt kind of rebellious coming from a whole long life of being miserable and all of a sudden just doing things my way, doing things because they felt sort of like a sort of an undeniable drive to do them, not because anybody wanted me to do them,
but because you want to do it.
Yes. And it felt like, yes, coming from the inside out, that was such a new and powerful experience. And it really was fun. I had started to see that life was really meant to be enjoyable. That's what I had always been looking for. I had always had that sense, but there has to be more to life. Life has to be good. And that's what my brother was demonstrating to me all along, that he never denied himself anything he wanted. He just went for it. And, he just trusted that, sure, I can have the nice car, the money will follow. I will make it work, and the vacations and living where he wanted to live and all these things. So
do you have that kind of thought now? Like
yes.
your brother?
Yes,
that life
absolutely.
is wonderful. If I can just put myself into it, I can do it. I can have it, just to believe. So you have that kind of thinking now for yourself.
Yes, though I am not. That's actually interesting, because I was thinking that just yesterday, that some people, they're really good at setting goals. I want to make X amount of money, or I want 15 clients to sign up this month, or whatever. And then they just, put everything into making that happen, and they do. Where I think for me, it's more sort of a general sense of adventure, of life actually being on my side now. Life and I are on good terms, I like to say.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Oh God, it feels so good to be able to say that, because I felt resentment towards life for so long. And sometimes people look at me a little funny when I talk about life like that, like sort of, and I think some people would call it God, or the universe, or source, or the divine, or spirit, or whatever. And I use some of those terms as well, but mostly to me, it's just sort of life force, life that has all this good stuff in store for us, when we are willing to let it in, when we trust it, when we are open to it. So I'm more than happy to just let life show me the next adventure, more than trying to decide the direction, because I was trying to micromanage life in every little detail, because that's how I thought it had to be. So just taking that step back and follow the little invitations, like, oh, it could be fun to write a book, and then sit down and just be open to it happening, more than being the one who has to do it. It felt like I wasn't alone writing that book. Sometimes when I was finished with the first draft and read it, I was like, oh my God, did I write that?
Unbelievable. Was it
yes.
me?
Yes. Yeah, because it had just, flown so easily. That, yeah.
Maybe because you were writing from your heart.
I think
that
so.
made that difference.
Yes. I think you're actually very, very right in that. And that's something that, where I have had to sort of make up my own mind, because, like athletes, they would say, oh, I'm in the zone and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I felt. And then there's a lot of sort of mainstream coaching that will tell you, you have to get out of your comfort zone. And I'm like, no, I was in the zone. I was exactly in the middle of where I feel the very best. That's where I can do things like that. So I'll much rather expand and extend my comfort zone, so that I get to be pardon me, so that I get to be that part of me, that I get to bring that sort of inner whatever energy it is, because that's available to me in my comfort zone. And that's what I want.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful story. But did your brother say something after that? Now this is the new me. I'm not only the sister now. What did he say about you now?
Well, he's so happy for me that I finally figured it out. But it's not like he, stopped to celebrate, because to him it's so natural. To him it's just like, yeah, of course. Just took you a little while to figure it out. But of course you can write a book. Of course you can do things. So it wasn't, yeah, to him it's not that big a deal. And, to my parents, it's still, and that was actually probably the thing that was the hardest during all of this, because I still felt sort of alone. I didn't feel like I have a lot of support, because my mom, she was so worried that, I would be disappointed, that I was dreaming too big, and that, I would just crash and burn, because as she says, do you know how many books are published every single day? Yes, 2,500 or so, I think, every single day. So I knew that my book wasn't going to make me a millionaire. But I did it for me. I did it. What I put in that book is all the tools, the techniques, and outlook on life that I had to develop to make that shift in my life. And the way that instead of the whole rah, just do it kind of energy, that there is another way of doing it, that there's so much power in being gentle with ourselves, I find. So that's what's in the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Can you share one tool or one technique from the book that you think everyone can really benefit from it, or everyone needs it?
Well, the sort of the spirit of the book going all the way through it, as it just said, be nice to yourself. I really, really think that is the main thing, because, out there and in the coaching world, I sometimes call it the rah-rah industry.
I like that. Is coaching very popular too, or I should say famous in Denmark too? Because in Thailand, almost everyone is a coach.
Yes, there are a lot of it, and online, and it's not that long ago I saw a post that said, how many coaches do you currently have? And I was like, how many? I was like, it's like, whew, okay. But and the whole idea, as I just said, you have to break out of your comfort zone, and you have to smash your limiting beliefs, and you have to destroy your ego. And I'm like, oh my God, is this internal warfare, or is this growth? I mean, I'm like, but I know that it works for millions of people. I mean, there are so many people who come into that world, and they create amazing results for themselves. So I'm definitely not knocking it. And Tony Robbins, he is amazing, and what he has built and what he has helped other people build, that is big. It's just, I think the difference is that sensitive people don't necessarily work in the same way, because we have always spent all our energy, all our lives trying to pursue this better version of ourselves. It is not new to us, and we certainly do not need anybody sort of whipping us into a frenzy to get there, because we are all already doing everything we can. So I think for us, we sort of just need the environment and the support and the understanding, maybe sort of a bit like a greenhouse or a nursery for plants, that some plants, they thrive anywhere. You can just plant them wherever, even here in Denmark, where it's sort of cold a lot of the time. But there are plants that need, the right conditions, but they grow up to be beautiful and just as valuable and as all the others. We just need slightly different circumstances or environment.
But if there's something that you can share, that what really made you come out of this hole, what will it be? If there's one thing that you can tell the world that this is one thing, what is it, Trine?
Oh, it was that super annoying book. I don't remember the title, but it...
or maybe we should not say the title of the book. Okay, so there's one book.
There was a book. Well, there's actually several books with the same topic, but it's that statement: happiness is a choice. Oh, I could have thrown it, clear across my garden at the time, because I was like, if it was that easy, we would all be deliriously happy all the time. If we just had to wake up one morning and decide to be happy, I mean, so, but, I had to admit that it's right. But the thing that they forget to mention is that it's not just a choice you make, it's a choice you make every single day, in every single moment.
Yes.
And it's not actually in the book, but I do have an exercise that I call the stairs of thought, because any thought that pops into our mind, you can sort of imagine it being somewhere on a staircase, or you find yourself on a landing somewhere. You're having this thought. I like to use the example of like, oh my God, I have a blind date tonight. And that's in itself, that is sort of a neutral thought. I have a blind date. But I think most people are already spiraling sort of,
already.
Yes. Sort of like, oh my God, blind dates, they can be so horrible. And what if we don't have anything to talk about? And is my date even gonna show up? And what if I embarrass myself? And the thing you're doing when you're thinking those thoughts is that every thought is like taking one of the stairs, one step at a time. And when you go that way, you're heading down the stairs, and down there is a dark, dank basement somewhere. If you keep going, you might even talk yourself out of going on that blind date. And that's where the choice comes in, because I have a blind date tonight. So instead of spiraling down the stairs, you can also go, well, that's going to be interesting. You never know what happens. And the other person might be just as nervous and uncomfortable as I am. So at least we have one thing in common. And I've been wanting to try that restaurant, and at least I get out of the house. And, you can choose how you look at life in every single situation. And it is a practice. So like in high school, I had a friend who got a summer job at a big factory where she had to run papers and stuff up and down the stairs. And she was like, it was so hard. But then I thought to myself, for every step I took, I was like, I'm getting a good butt, good butt, good butt, good butt, good butt. So she was, she turned it around to something positive instead. And you can do the same with the mental stairs, these stairs of thought, that every time you stop yourself, because sometimes it's easier if you catch it early on before you're sort of all the way in the
down
basement
already. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, exactly. But if you find yourself in sort of neutral, or maybe you even have a good day, and taking those stairs up, it might feel a little uncomfortable. It might feel like you're actually stretching or using that muscle. But if you keep going, remind yourself that you are practicing, it will get easier. And if you make it all the way to the rooftop terrace, I'm sure there is a very nice lounge and a beautiful view.
And of course, some drinks for you to enjoy.
Yes, drinks and company and happy people. There's happy people on the rooftop. So if you keep going, if you keep practicing, and then just don't beat yourself up when you find yourself in the old pattern, because our brains are sort of well, neuroplasticity and all that, that the
Yes.
thoughts that we have practiced for all our lives, you don't just turn them around because you make the decision, now I'm going to be happy. Once it is practice, but I guarantee you that if I can do it, I promise,
That
everybody
everyone can
can.
do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm.
Mental stairs. Yes.
Yeah.
That's really nice because it's either you go down, down, down into
Mm.
negativity or up, up,
Yeah.
up into positivity. And the
Yeah.
choice is yours.
Yes. And even if you have taken a flight of stairs down, it's never too late to be like, oh, wait, oh my God, I'm heading to the basement. I don't want that. Maybe you have to like take a nap to sort of reset, or if you enjoy going for a run or watching a movie, sometimes you just need to distract yourself a little bit, because as you start on the downward spiral, it can almost take you by default. So
Mm.
sometimes you have to do something else to just reset, and then you can start moving upwards.
Wow. Trini, aside from writing the book,
Mm-hmm.
what else did you do or what else happened as part of this triumphant out of the whole life and the happiness and all the beauty in the world? What else
Mm-hmm.
did you do or what else happened aside from writing the book?
Well, I decided that, as I said, when I can do this, everybody can. And I decided to share that message and get out there, and especially tell people that the just do it isn't the only way to do it, that we can, extend our comfort zones instead of destroying it, and we can, be nice to ourselves, tell ourselves nicer stories, that it's okay to be who we are, even as sensitives, or maybe sometimes especially as sensitives, because we do have some qualities that I believe the world needs. So, and what I've been doing lately is, because, my journey kind of started with those 5-day challenges. So I always wanted to do one of those, but I kind of got stuck on that word, like a 5-day challenge. It's like, don't we have enough challenges out there in the real world? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So I decided to create a 5-day festival instead. And I called it Happy and Aligned, because to me, that is just the best emotional foundation that we can have when we want to create these lives that we just love waking up to in the morning. So I did that last week, actually, and I enjoyed that so much. I put the next one on the calendar for June.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
This happens regularly, Happy and Aligned Festival.
Yes, the
Oh,
5-day
wow.
festival. Well, it was the first one last week, but it's gonna be again, because I enjoyed it so much, and I really like that there are people who are, ready to look at life in a different way. So I'm gonna keep, putting that message out there, that there is an alternative to the way that I thought it had to be for so long. And because, coaching is great. We all want the results. We all want to live that life. There's just different ways of doing it. And some people thrive in the sort of hustle culture and the go, go, go. Some people are energized by that and excited by that. And some people are exhausted by that. And for
Yes.
them, there's a different way. They get to be happy and aligned as well, and let life be on their side.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So Happy and Aligned Festival. Can you tell us more details about this, Trina? Maybe some listeners can actually attend and participate, but is it online or is it face to
Yes.
face?
No, it's
Online.
yes,
Oh,
it's
nice.
I created a Facebook group for it. So the format of it is quite like a 5-day challenge, but the energy and the vibe of it is different, because that was important to me, that it's and there's no, you know, accountability coaching where you have to show up every day, because I mean, life's busy and some people live in crazy time zones, you know. So so watching things on replay or whenever you feel like, that's perfectly fine, because the energy is still there, and people were really good at, you know, still commenting even if they came back and watched it on replay. So they could still be sort of part of the conversation. So it's June 6th to 10th, and it's online. There's a link to it on my website. And I mean, just show up and enjoy yourself, because that's the whole point of being there, is giving yourself like a little vacation, to spend 5 days where you dedicate your time to choosing your happiness, to choosing to spend time with other people who want the same things, because they sometimes say that you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And
yes.
Yeah, and there is a lot of negativity out there, and the world has gone crazy in some ways. At least it's easy to see it that way. So finding sort of this happy little bubble to immerse yourself in, I believe sometimes that's all it takes. The right environment where we can relax and just be, and especially be us, be who we are, without all that external pressure. I think sometimes that in itself, and then of course I'm, you know, talking every day. I do daily training with my tools and my techniques, and I invite guest speakers to come and share their insights on this, their, you know, versions of happy and aligned, their tools and how they see it, so that we get several different, you know, angles on it. And it was really such a nice community where people could be open and could share, and we could have this talk about, is it even okay to want to be happy, that it isn't selfish, that the world needs more happy, not less, in crazy times, because when we are happy and aligned, we have more to give to others. We're more, you know, more generous. We have more energy to spare. We're kinder people. We are more uplifting. So yeah, I think it's the best thing we can do for ourselves and for others. So
I couldn't agree more. Yes, that's beautiful. Good luck on that. Probably I'll check on that. So please, my life mates, check on that. Happy and Aligned Festival happening in June, and you can check Trine Lehmann Hansen's website for more details.
Yes.
Trine,
it's called Trine's Playground.
Trine's Playground.com.
Yes.
Sorry.
because that's one of my things. I want life to be a playground instead of an obstacle course. So yes, so my little corner out there on the interweb is Trine's Playground.com, of course. Had to be.
Thanks.
Yes.
Trine, everything you've shared, what do you consider the greatest lesson you've learned?
It is that we get to enjoy our lives, and that it's sort of up to us to be willing to have this kind of relationship with life, instead of blaming it for everything that's wrong. I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where you blamed the other person for everything. I don't know how well that turned out, but typically it doesn't work between people, and it doesn't really work with life either. So even just being willing to give life, you know, the benefit of the doubt. So even though I thought for so many years that being sensitive was what prevented me from living a normal life, I realized that yes, it might have prevented me from living the normal life, but it was exactly what I needed to live my life.
Yes, very well said. Very well said. Although I'm more or less, I think I know the answer, but I don't want to assume. But Trine, if there's one decision you've made in the past and still has a huge impact of who you are, what is that decision, or what was that decision?
Yes, we have been talking about constantly deciding, and I think, all the little decisions we make through our lives is what makes us who we are. Though there is a lot of focus on, you have to make decisions, you have to make fast decisions, you have to make, and I'm like, yeah, or just sort of generally decide to find the best in the people you meet and in the situations you come across. So the little decisions, they don't have to be life altering. I'm gonna climb Mount Everest so that it doesn't have to be
huge decisions. So the little decisions you've made in the past is now who you are.
Yes, I think so.
Very nice. I know you already, of course, published a book. If you're going to write another book, which I think very possible, what kind of book will it be? And what will be the title of that next book?
That is a good question. I think it would be more of the same. It would be, because the more I learn, and the clients I work with, and the festivals, and my podcast, everybody I get to talk to, I keep learning. I keep clarifying my message. So it would be more of the same, I think. More tools, more well, sometimes I'm thinking that sort of, you don't need a coach, or let life be your coach, because this whole idea that we need something specific to get to where we want to be, I don't think so. And sometimes on Facebook, there's this kind of post, explain really poorly what you do. So you can't say, I'm a coach, but what do you do? And I typically say, I teach people that they don't need me, because
that they can be happy without a coach.
Absolutely. They could be happy without the $1 million. They could be happy without the perfect house. They could be happy without the perfect career. We don't need all that. We already have that access to that sort of inner source, to life, to whatever that is. We already have that. So we just need to find our own way of connecting with it. I truly, truly, truly believe that.
Oh, very nice. Trine, one last question. If there's one message that you can share to those people who are still in their dark and deep hole, what will it be?
I will tell them that if I had to do my life over and going through more than a decade of that deep dark hole to get to where I am today, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do it 10 times over. So don't beat up on yourself. I mean, for me, I wouldn't have gotten here if it hadn't been for that experience. I wouldn't, because I mean, even it's not like, well, as I said, my life still looks more or less the same. So it's not like I'm, traveling the world, partying all the time. It's still sort of the same, but I celebrate almost every day how good it feels just to be, because I have had that experience. And I truly believe that everything we experience in life is a part of our journeys to becoming who we have always been meant to be. So don't beat up on that. In that deep dark hole, there is that perfect something that is gonna make the whole difference. It's not actually once you have crawled out of your hole. It's down there in the darkness. You just haven't seen it yet, I think.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I hope that's a comfort, because it sucks in that hole.
Yes, it does.
It sure does. And I'm not gonna pretend that it didn't, because there were days where I just wanted to claw off my own skin because all that misery could be contained in one human body. I was like, oh. So it isn't fun, but I don't think life makes mistakes either. And you didn't either. If you're sitting down in that hole, there is something in there. So if you can even, find that teeny tiny little spark of light inside yourself somewhere, that might be all you need to actually notice what that thing is.
Oh, wow. Trine, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for sharing your time, for sharing your story. And it's not easy to share that kind of story. It takes courage. It takes a big heart and a big decision to really share, because not everybody will be very open to share what they've been through, especially if it's a dark story. And yours is a success story, something that you should share to everyone.
Yeah. And I never would have believed that if you had said that just a few years ago. So yeah, don't give up, because it's things can change. And I'm so glad that you were one of those amazing people that I met on Facebook by chance, or nice little synchronicities, or whatever it is. But we got to have this conversation. And thank you so much for inviting me and for asking your good questions, and to help me say things that I haven't said in this way before, because that's magic when we are having these conversations, that new things come to light, I think.
Yes. So life mates, again, thank you so much, Trine. Life is magic. Life is beautiful. And whatever situation, depression, or sadness you are at the moment, it's not too late. If Trine can do it, all of us can do it too. Thank you so much. And until my next episode, life mates, listen and learn.